Would you like to be somebody who knows why people still chase money? Even if they know it won't bring them happiness, then listen to this entire video where I explain different psychological reasons such as low levels of self-worth or also being subjected to social norms that lead to people still chasing money even if they know deep down it won't bring them fulfillment. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Let's get into it. So, as I think you already know, money won't bring you happiness, wealth won't make you fulfilled, and riches won't give you a meaningful life. I'm not going to explain why money doesn't bring you happiness, that's for a different video, but this knowledge that money won't bring you happiness is widely spread, and most people have heard of it. But why do so many people still chase money if they already know it won't make them happy? This puzzles me, yet I have a good suspicion why it still occurs, which I will explain in this video. And when I talk about the people chasing money, I mean it as sort of they dedicate the majority or several domains of their life to building riches. Like their career might consume their entire life and their entire career is built on the aim of building riches, for example. Okay, so reason number one why people still chase money even though they know it won't bring them meaning. There's a difference in life between hearing life advice from somebody else and having experienced a life-changing lesson yourself. People can give you their wisdom, but it will always only be knowledge to you. You can only obtain wisdom from experiencing life yourself. Thus, you have the knowledge that money won't bring you happiness, but you kind of need to experience it yourself before you can understand what that advice really entails. It's like you will always think the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Hence, you need to go over the fence yourself before you can actually see and understand that it isn't always greener. Like Nipsey Hussle said, the rapper, rest in peace, the best teacher in life is your own experience. None of us know who we are until we fail. Thus, you will never know the fleeting joy that money will bring you until the stacks are in your pocket. That's my quote, that's not his quote. No, you won't understand it until you have actually built wealth or have been able to have a taste of what wealth is, to have the wisdom that money doesn't bring you fulfillment. So people can hear the advice, but it doesn't perfectly resonate with them. They don't fully grasp what it means. Reason number two. I think people suffer from an absence of a deep sense of self-worth. Thus, they seek for external value and status symbols from which they can temporarily derive their own self-worth. They buy an expensive car because the car symbolizes strength and wealth, and because wealth is deemed as a valuable characteristic in society, we want to be judged as wealthy and therefore valuable. That's why we buy the car. Now, what is also playing is in the mix here is an instinctual drive to seek validation. Now, we want to be validated in social groups because our survival and well-being depends on it. If you are ostracized by groups, your loneliness levels or risk of loneliness skyrocket, well, increases, let's say, and that loneliness is a horrific phenomenon that can really depreciate your body and essentially make you suffer. And, instinctually, you don't want to suffer because it threatens your reproductive fitness, so you're inclined to not be ostracized or try to stay away from being ostracized or avoid it. So you try to seek validation from other people and be included in groups. Now, if your group uses the characteristic or the criteria of wealth in order to be included, then you aim for building wealth in order to be included. And that's what's in the mix here. Because some social groups do that, they don't really want to hang out with you unless you're wealthy. And I think the absence of self-worth in people is a complex phenomenon which is caused by several factors which I'll try to attempt to deduce in another video, but it'll take quite a bit to try and deduce it. But if I can give a guess on what a key factor might be, the thing that jumps to my mind is, I would say, a reason why people have an absent sense or deep sense of self-worth is because of the societal detachment from the human spirit. Individuals are detached from their human spirit, and the human spirit is sort of the non-physical aspect of human nature. I would say religion attempts to portray what the human spirit is, yet because religion sits in the shadow of science and is therefore absent, so is the human's sense of connection to its primal nature. And humans unconsciously don't feel at home, thus they are anxious and insecure and don't feel stable deep down, and thus they scramble. They're scrambling, like reaching for whatever that might give them some sort of feeling of self-worth in the short term, which might be wealth and material possessions. Now, reason number 3 of why people still chase money even though they know it won't bring them happiness is, the third reason is really a mix. The root of the problem is perhaps that individuals do not question whether money is worth chasing. Why? Maybe because that would entail having to find a new goal in life. And living without a goal is painful because you lose your identity. Beforehand you thought, okay, my goal in life is to build wealth. Very simple. Create a startup. Get into a career. Build on that career. It's quite sort of obvious what you would need to do. It's not easy, but it's kind of obvious. Yet when you need to give that up, the thing you identified with, that excellent career, that awesome startup you founded, it collapses. And, we identify with what we aim in life because that is what we value. We, to a degree, identify ourselves with our values because what we value is what we desire, and therefore that is simultaneously also what we aim for. And when you need to give up an aim, obviously by default you need to look for a new aim, and then you're in the desert, like figuratively speaking, until you have a direction in life again. And trust me, being in the desert is painful because you feel lost. Thus, it's kind of like humans prefer the devil they know over the devil they don't know. You prefer the certainty of the seemingly suboptimal situation, whereas maybe giving up that situation could create a better situation, but there's no guarantee for that, and you might, let's say, decline into a worse situation with a sort of a devil that is potentially more pernicious than the one you are facing right now. So questioning your aim in life requires intense introspection and self-reflection. I think one of the scariest images in life don't lie in your surroundings and in, society, but actually lie within your own psyche. And if you want to evaluate your purpose in life, you're going to need to take a good look at yourself in the mirror and question yourself. And the prospect of acknowledging that you might not know what your aim or purpose is terrifying, because then you need to subordinate your ego and be able to openly say, well, I just don't know what I want in life. Because people frequently judge that people who are aimless are immature. Hence, we prefer not to accept that we are aimless and might not know what we want. And as Jordan Peterson says, you cannot become a master if you're not willing to start off as a fool. And that is the case. You cannot expect to, I would say, find or build a meaningful purpose in life without actually questioning what your purpose is and having to start off with no purpose until you find the right one. Because, you don't want any purpose. Yeah, maybe my purpose could be cleaning my bathroom every day, but that's not necessarily a purpose that is potent enough to make your soul feel alive and give you meaning. You would need something a bit more, let's say, challenging archetypally, let's say, configured, like a meaning that is, a purpose that is aligned with your archetype, let's say, with an archetype. And Carl Jung had a dark quote. He said, there's a Swiss proverb that goes along the lines of, behind every rich man stands a devil, and behind every poor man stands two devils. What he's saying here is, when you accept this poverty, and I'm not talking about wealth, like riches, like you're broke money-wise, but spiritual poverty, in that you don't have something to live for, some purpose, then you bring a fatality upon yourself. Because in order to get from the state of poverty to riches, or from a state of have not to have, so you have the riches then, whatever, not like material riches, but spiritual, you need to, well, kind of like sacrifice something, and that comes at a cost, and that is sort of the fatality, maybe. That's at least how I interpreted it. Now, on top of that, finally, you have a social norm which frequently encourages people to pursue wealth. Hence, it's even tougher to break away from that, from chasing money, if your social environment expects you to dedicate your life to seeking riches. It takes courage to collide with the expectations of your peers and confront them on how their aim in life might be suboptimal. Thus, we stick our head in the sand like ostriches because ignorance seems like bliss to us. So in conclusion, I'd say the key reasons why people still chase money, even though they know it's not going to bring them fulfillment, is because the advice of that, money won't bring you happiness, is somebody else's wisdom. And you understand it, but you don't grasp it, let's say. You don't grasp it at a fully accurate level, that in a way that it touches you and you fully comprehend it. Thus, you kind of, it's not potent enough to redirect your focus in life to something more meaningful. So you need to kind of like test the waters first before you can judge what it feels like, having wealth or riches. So people still chase it because the advice of money won't give you happiness does not resonate with them fully. I'd say the second reason is people have a lacking sense of self-worth, and thus they try to derive their self-worth from material possessions that lie in their external environments. And the reason they don't have a sense of self-worth is because they have no foundation to stand on in life. Like, they're not, there's a part of their nature which is not being engaged in, and it is not being appealed to. It's a spiritual need. And if it's not appealed to, it feels neglected, and it feels lost and confused. And when you're lost and confused, you do not have a sense of self-worth or confidence in yourself. And that's why people are sort of like dissociated from their true nature, and that then manifests in a lack of self-worth, I would say. And the third reason is, if you set out your life to build riches and then you realize, well, maybe it's not the right thing, that would demand you to give up that goal. And once you give up a goal, it means you need a new one, because if you have no goal in life, no aim, you're just filled with nihilism and negative emotions, and that's not good. So you need to have an aim, but you need to find a good one that you actually enjoy striving to or pursuing. And finding that is difficult, and if you don't have that, you're lost, and you feel like immature, because people say, yeah, if you're lost, then you just don't know yourself well. And actually, most people don't know themselves very well, but nobody wants to admit it. And you have social norms that, of course, encourage you to seek riches, because that's what everybody does, and people around you are doing. And to collide with that is difficult. To tell people, hold on, what you're encouraging or what you think is a good thing in life actually isn't. That's conflict, and that's confrontation, and people frequently don't like that. So please leave a comment below whether you have any other ideas on why people still chase money in life, even though they know it's not going to bring them happiness. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Thank you for listening.